Hello everyone, and welcome to my shop. Alright, well hello everyone and welcome back to my shop. We're going to be on the GMC today, again, the ongoing, never going away GMC. And what we're going to do is, back when I did the heater install, and I was test running it to just make sure we didn't have any leaks and make sure that the heater ran, we heard some bearing type noises coming out of the front. Troubleshooting between the alternator and the water pump indicated that the sounds were coming from the alternator. So we're going to work on that alternator and see if we can't get that, figure out what's wrong with it, which I think it's the bearings, and get that fixed up. So anyway, stay tuned and let's do it. Alright, I want to show you how I did a little troubleshooting to determine where exactly the sound was coming from. And I used this wooden ruler. Now, what you can do, of course, the correct tool would be a stethoscope. I don't have one, and I've actually never used one. It would be better if I did, but I've just learned some of these old tricks over the years. You can use a long screwdriver where it'll conduct the sound, but I use this ruler, and what I did was I placed it to my ear and I placed it close to around the alternator, and to see if I could imitate the sound. And I also put it down here around the water pump because, you know, it could have been the water pump. It was a similar type sound, and the sound was definitely isolated to the alternator. So and about this segment, I'll put in that with the engine idling when I got the heat, when I was testing the heater, and you can hear the sound. And so I used the ruler down there to isolate it. So anyway, we're going to get on removing the belt, and we should be able to turn the alternator and determine if that is in fact the problem. These old GM alternators, they use just 2 bolts, and we don't have to remove them, just to loosen them enough to get the belt off. Oh me. Surely that's not that tough to pull. There we go. Doesn't really sound that bad. There's a rough spot. Oh, there's a squeak. So that's it. You know, before you do anything, I need to disconnect the battery. Me oh my. And it's always good to disconnect the negative lead. Now we'll go after this, because that's battery voltage that sits on that terminal right there on the alternator. It's you know, talk about doing some welding. Lord help me, I got metric sizes on my truck. Let's see, the number 10. That's what he is. Number 10. the electrical, it's really a simple connection there. Now down here on the bottom is a quite a bit longer bolt. Goes all the way to the block. And there's a spacer there behind it. And there we go, just lifts right off. Okay, I'm gonna set this up and see if I can't show you how the sound. You can hear it, the bearing around. Now that alternator was on that was on the engine that came with this, so I didn't know the history of it. Although I did put those chrome pieces on it. Okay, we'll get real close here, and you can see if you can hear it. Hear that? It's definitely a bad bearing. Alright, one of the first things you want to do when you go to take this thing apart is you want to mark the halves. You want to clock them correctly. I use a chisel to mark the two halves. Pretty light, you won't really pay a whole lot of attention to it. So now I'm going to use my impact to take the pulley and the fan off. It's a whole lot easier doing it this way. Sometimes they'll just come right off. Sometimes they need a little bit of persuasion. Get that out of the way. You don't want to put too much you don't want to pry on the metal piece too on the fan part. But the pulley does come off. There we go. We'll lay all these parts side by side. Alright, there's 4 bolts that holds the alternator together. See, we already got him clocked where we want. Alright. They're 5/16. And they're tight. So we'll use something with a little bit more persuasion to it. Now the alternator itself works good. Now eventually that bearing can go out, and there's not a whole lot of clearance between the stator and the windings. And once that goes out and it allows it to move, well, next thing you know, it's wiped out your windings or your stator or both. And well, you just have to be cheaper then to replace the whole alternator. Now what'll happen when I split this, the springs the brushes and the springs will kind of fly out some. So, alright. So you want to make sure you keep track of where they go. Alright. Now we're going to transfer off the vise. And it's ready to come apart. Now, we'll take the top part, front part off. And there we go. I'll show you the inside. It probably needs a bushing too. All right. Let me show you a close-up of that. All right. All right, there's the inside. There's your two brushes. It looks like they got a lot of life left in them. Although, kind of look a little unusual in there. There's the lands that it rides on. And the bearing that I suspect is bad is right here. All right. All right. All right, what I want to do now is to tap the stator out of the bearing in the bearing half here. So I'm just going to gently, you know, it doesn't take a whole lot to get it out. There we go. There's no spacers or anything. Well, there is actually a spacer, so you want to remember that and leave that in its place. And there's a spacer that goes on the outside. So we'll put him right there. So yeah, I can feel bad spots in the bearing. Okay. Okay. 3 bolts here. It holds it in. Lock washers are on the bolts themselves. So I could tap it out a little easier. Get the correct tool. There we go. Alright, there's the bearing. And see, I can actually, I can tell, I mean, I know you can't tell. I guess I'm just holding it up how I'm testing it. I'm turning it, and I can feel roughness, and it doesn't turn easy. It should turn a lot easier. See, it doesn't even, it's just not a good bearing. You can tell. Alright? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a trick if you haven't done an alternator before. Kind of show a close-up here. Push that down, alright. Alright, inside, you see the 2 brushes. Now they sit down inside this carrier. Now there's right here is a hole that you would actually insert like a big paper clip or something to that effect. You press them down and you press the clip in from the outside, and there's the hole right here. All right, so you press it in from the outside, and it holds them brushes down and ready to engage. And once you put everything back together, you pull your clip out, and it allows the brushes to go back up and make contact on the stator right here with these two surfaces, which feels pretty good. All right. So anyway, I'm going to attempt to get them in there. I've got a big safety clip somewhere around here. Not I have to go in the house and get one. Anyway. Okay, I didn't show it because it took a while and it was real awkward. But I finally got, let's get over here under the light. I finally got the pin in that holds the brushes down while so you can reassemble this. Now I'm gonna put him down here and try to point stuff out. All right, he rolled. Right here's the pin where I'm pointing at, and that's the brush holders right there. You really can't see in there, but down in there is the springs and then the brushes. And once you put the thing together on the outside here, you pull that pin right here, pull the pin out, and that allows the brushes to go up and make contact to the stator. All right. All right, well here's the bushings. Here's the needle bearing bushing that goes in the very back near the commutator. And here's the front one that's on the load on the front side. All right, now nobody carries these locally, or the parts people don't have an idea of what I've got. Now here I just did a little search here on eBay, and there they are. And you're looking at $8.35 for the bearings. And I think it says another $1 to ship it somewhere down there. So anyway, only bad thing is it'll take it a week. There's full rebuild kits I can get. And they run about $30. Now, I can get a brand new chrome alternator for about $70. So for a little over less than half the price, I can rebuild this. Or I can get just a direct replacement for this for about $50. So that's even about a $20 difference. So the problem is this had no charging problem whatsoever. And if I go with that rebuild kit that comes with not only these bushings, but it comes with new brushes, brush holder, new regulator, new diodes. I mean, the whole kit and caboodle for $30. So I'm kind of leaning that way. I'm going to study on that some more. But in the meantime, I'm putting everything here in a box so I don't lose it. And we'll decide how we're going to go here on the alternator. And now we're going to move on to some other stuff. Just buttoning up some stuff. All right, look what I received. It's amazing that the post office got the stuff delivered. We have been in flash flood warnings now for 2 days. We've set a record for the amount of rainfall over that 48-hour period. And we've got streets closed left and right. You know, we got a lot of hills and dales around here. So the low spots are flooding. Of course, you know, all of us, we either live or build on hillsides or hilltops. So most people are all right, but the roads are bad. Anyway, got this from eBay today. Well, actually came in yesterday. And look here, we got us our new bearings. All right, got the rear needle bearing and the front load bearing. Part numbers look the same. So we're going to get at getting this alternator fixed. And there's the old ones up there lined up right next to it. So let's see. There's a good close-up of them. There's your new one. And there's your old ones here at the bottom, new ones at the top. All right. Well, I know you're not going to be able to tell, but this is the old bearing, and I'm just turning it. I can feel rough spots, and it's got resistance to turning, okay? Here's the new bearing, and man, it almost continues to spin on its own, okay? You can tell a big difference between a new good bearing and a bearing that's going out. And these are permanently sealed. You can't do nothing with them but replace them once they go bad. Now, you really can't spin these around. But this old one, you can see there's actually more grease in it than what's in this new one. Here, that's the new one. So I'm going to put a little bit more axle grease down in there before, but not enough. There's kind of a seal around there to keep it from, because this is the commutator end, so you don't want so much grease that it'll come out and get on the commutator, and you know, it'll insulate the brushes from it. So anyway, here we go. We're going to get them things installed. All right, let's do some test fitting. All right, here's the new needle bearing. It goes here on the commutator end. And yeah, oh yeah, that feels good. Well, there's grease in there. There's resistance. Okay, that feels good. All right. There may be enough grease. I may not put none on there. All right, and here's the load end. And he goes all the way up. Yes, he does. Okay, that's good. All that feels so much different. All right, and leave that adapter on there. Put him on there. Yeah, big difference. All right. Man, I don't want to come off. Well, I'll get him off and we'll go on with the reassembly. All right, let's tap the new bearing in here. Got a socket that's about the same size as the outer ring of the bearing. We don't want to beat on the bearing itself, the plastic pieces. So we just want to knock it in from the outer edges. All right, and a little bit more. All right, that seems to be it. Oh yeah, look how easy. The other one didn't spin like that. All right, now we'll go ahead and put the locking tab down. All right, we'll just hand start these. And I've moved up to the east side. I've got my power driver, yeah. Okay. And what I'm going to do is, since I just trust my 2 clicks of the wrist more than I do electrical. That's pretty good. Tighten them down. All right. See, there's lock washers on the on those little nuts. So anyway, so this half actually goes on this way, and I'll show you. Well, I mean, I can get him off. Ugh. There we go. But there's that spacer. See, the spacer's still on there. All right. Oh, I took emery cloth and I cleaned up the shafts, the threads, the bearing end here, and the commutators. Okay, I wanted them nice and shiny. Make good electrical connection once the brush is right against it. All right, now we're going to. We may not drive. I'm going to try another way of getting that rear needle bearing in there. So let's see. All right, I'm going to use my vise to press in there. The needle bearing, I don't want to knock on it to, and knock the needle bearings out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these 3 nuts right here and lift this, the windings out, and then we'll be able to use the vise. You can't, you'll crush the windings if you if you try to, use that for the press, okay? Where'd that nut go? Alright, there he is. Didn't want to come out of there for some reason. Alright. There. Alright, now let's get this out of the way. You notice this will lift straight up and out. There. Alright. There's your on a generator that's called a field. But this is the stator here, so these are just the windings. Alright, I guess the field windings would probably be okay to call them that. Anyway, where'd that little nut go? Alright, what I'm going to do is use the vise to press in the needle bearing, okay? So, let's get him started somewhat. That's all I want to tap. I don't want to tap it any more than that. Alright. There. That wood was actually starting to crack. I don't know if it's going to do. Let's see. Normally they'll press in fairly easy. Okay. Which this one just isn't. I just don't want to knock those. I don't want to knock. Okay. Now let's try it. It's going reluctantly, but he's going. And you want it flush with the case. That's the wood you hear cracking. Alright, there we go. And there you can see it installed. Flush. Alright. Very good. Alright, since we got it pressed in, let's put the windings back in. And they look good. Everything should line right back up on them bolts, and there they go. Alright. I'll start them by hand. Alright, there was no lock washers. And you've seen how easily they broke loose with my cordless drill there, so that's the same torque I'll go ahead and use to put it down. Alright, there we go. We'll do 16. Alright. I use 16 setting on that Craftsman, but what I'm going to end up doing is going by hand. Like I say, I trust my 2 clicks of the wrist more than I do electronics. There we go. But all right, he's in. Now, where's my tie there? Okay, there's my clocking mark right here on that half, and somewhere there's my clocking mark on this half. All right, make sure them brushes are still down. They are. Okay. Now, also, I guess I'll point this out again. If you notice down in there, right here. My finger, there's a pin, and that's holding the brushes down in the holder here. There's springs behind them. So as soon as I get that disassembled, I'll pull this pin out right here, and that's going to allow them brushes to come out and make contact with the commentators right here. Okay? Up. There you go. Commentators. There we go. All right. So now I picked him up and messed my mark up. All right. Where'd that mark at? Right there. All right. There's my mark. Of course, you can rotate this thing once you put it in. It's not like cast in stone. You know, the way it acted, it's got plenty of, I see plenty of grease on it. Yeah, that's good. It's enough. I'm not going to put any more on it. All right. Where's my mark? There it is. And it'll go right like that. There we go. All right. My marks are lined up. See, the grease is wanting to push it out. Okay. All right. We'll get these started. Which different size socket. I don't know why that didn't go. There we go. Just didn't want to break through. Get started. Okay. There's no washers on them. The heads have like a shoulder on them. Let's get it up here. There we go. It has like a shoulder on it. So, no washers. Okay. They just don't start easy. I mean, it's like the thread's crazy or something. Let's see. Yeah, it started. All right. Let's go back to my power here. Get a run up anyway. See, is that in? Okay. Okay. Like anything round, you want to tighten in a roundabout fashion. Okay. Now, we'll tighten it down with 2 clicks of the wrist. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. See how he spins. Oh yeah. Okay. Setting my pin back there. All right. Now, what I'm going to do, I wanted to see what it felt like. Let's pull just a hair back. All right. Here comes. There you go. Pulled the pin. The brushes should be making contact. All right. It's probably a way to test that, but I'm pretty sure. Well, you can't tell by looking. It's the only way you know. All right, got the spacer, which gives the fan the clearance. Got the pulley. Then we got the bolt, the nut. All right, and he went that away. That's the way it was before. Let me get my impact set up. I believe it was this size, and I was wrong. Not the first time, not the last. Oh well. See if I get it on the second shot. And I don't. Son of a gun. Not the first time, not the last. How about I just bring the whole kit and caboodle over? There you go, yeah. All right. Son of a gun. It always likes to do that stuff when I'm recording. Yeah. Isn't that the way it works? I always like when I use my air tools, squirt a little oil down in there. This is regular, just motor oil. I know they make a special kind of oil for that particular application, but you know, that tool I can't. That tool's probably 35 years old. Yeah, 35 maybe. So anyway. All right, let's get him. All right. He is on. Now, I guess I could try to hold that with something strong. Stronger than my finger dings. And let's see, we're going to make sure. And he is. All right. There we go. All right, there we go. So now it's time to get this thing installed in the truck and let's see what happens. All right, let's get this thing installed. And it's kind of fun to do it because of the way you gotta do certain things. I need something to stand on. Since I've got it jacked up, it's a little high. Okay. Now what we gotta do is there, started now. Okay. And we get this top bolt started. Someone a long time ago had apparently stripped it out and had to use this oversized bolt and getting it started through the slot can be fun somewhere there. So they drilled and tapped it for a larger bolt, and so instead of the 9/16, it's a oh, sorry, instead of a 1/2 inch, it's a 9/16, and my safety glasses are steaming up. Okay. All right. We go on the outer. Okay. 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 And you go with just gotta remember, you're tightening in this top one, you're going into aluminum, so you can't go gorilla on him, or you'll be using a 3-wire connection here, so 1 wire is fine. It'll work fine for you, but I like a 3-wire because it gives you that didn't act like he was tight. There. All right. Now, I like a 3-wire because it gives you it gives the alternator a better sense of the charging condition. All right. Let's connect that battery. Let's see what we got. All right, here we go. Talking about. Let's go see if it's charging. I'm gonna cheat and tell you I'd already looked. All right, it was charging better. All right, there you go. You see that? No discharge. All right. Now, you hear how quiet that is now? All you hear is the engine loping, and that's all I want to hear. I didn't want to hear that bad bearing sound. All right. You know, that belt squeaked too, and I believe I had the belt about the same tightness. You know, I might one day invest in one of those tension gauges. But, I don't know, I've made it this long without them. But over tightening these belts is the first, is a surefire way to wear that load side bearing out, the big bearing. A good deal. We're charging, we're quiet, and that 350 sounds like a 350 should. That's what I'm talking about. You know, I forgot I had a voltmeter in here, but you can't really see my gauges, so let's turn on my brand new dome light here. Well, looky there. And if you look, you can see we're sitting there a little over 14 volts, about 45 psi on oil pressure, and the temperature's climbing some. But, all right. Well, the main thing is that charge. I wanted to see what that voltage was. And see how my dome light worked. And there you go. That's pretty good. All right. It's good to have some electrics and some stability back in this thing. So anyway. All right, folks. Well, that concludes this video. The alternator ends up, the bearings were the problem in the alternator making that sound that I first picked up on the heater install part 5. While I was idling it and checking for leaks here in the connections, that sound was just overwhelming. You know, it's funny, I never really noticed that sound before, and this truck has been, I drove it for about 3,000 miles after I put the engine in, and never noticed it, and I only noticed it now that it sat. So anyway, it just goes to show you, I guess stuff can go bad sitting sometimes. So anyway, I want to thank you for watching the video if you lasted this far. And if you liked the video, I'd like you to hit the subscribe button and to hit the like button and to maybe give me a comment or two. Let me know what you think. If you're watching this on a TV, like a smart TV or a Roku or one of them devices, those icons I just explained probably aren't there. But at the end of this, at the very end of this video, up in the I guess that'll be your left-hand side of the screen if you're looking at it, will be a round icon come up, and it'll be a picture of my black Chevy. Now, if you take your arrow up key on your remote and arrow up to it, you can hit enter, and it'll do the same as subscribing. Again, subscribing don't cost you a thing, and it helps me out with YouTube. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope everything goes good with you. You have a good one, and we'll see you around.